The alarm bells rang across the mining colony like screams in the dark. Yuki ran through the metal hallways as fast as her legs could carry her. The walls shook with each explosion outside. Red lights flashed everywhere, making everything look like blood. "How many ships do they have?" Yuki shouted into her communication device. "Too many to count," came the voice from the defense center. "The bugs just keep coming. Our shields won't last another hour." Yuki reached the main control room where dozens of people worked at glowing screens. Everyone looked scared. Some were crying. They all knew they were going to die today. The Vraktar had come without warning. These giant bug creatures attacked colonies across the galaxy. They killed everyone and took everything. No one had ever survived a full Vraktar attack. Day sat at the communications desk, his fingers flying over the controls. Sweat covered his face as he sent message after message into space. "Any word from the Federation fleet?" Yuki asked. Day shook his head. "They're 3 weeks away. We'll be dead in 3 hours." Another explosion rocked the colony. This one was closer. Much closer. Through the windows, they could see the bug ships landing outside the main dome. Each ship was as big as a building. Strange clicking sounds came from inside them. "The outer defenses are down," someone called out. "They're breaking through the main gate." Yuki closed her eyes for a moment. She was responsible for 8,000 people. Men, women, children from 12 different worlds. All of them were counting on her to save them. "Keep sending the distress signals," she told Day. "Try every frequency. Someone has to hear us." Day nodded and went back to his work. His hands moved over the controls like a musician playing a sad song. Each message was the same. "Help us. Please help us. We are dying." The bug creatures were inside the colony now. Security cameras showed them moving through the lower levels. They walked on 6 legs and had sharp claws for hands. Their heads looked like skulls with too many eyes. When they found people, they killed them without mercy. "Evacuation ships are loading on level 7. Yuki announced over the colony's speakers. "All families with children go first. Stay calm and help each other." But everyone knew there weren't enough ships. Even if they could get everyone off the planet, the bug creatures would just follow them and kill them in space. Day suddenly stopped working. He stared at his screen with wide eyes. "What is it?" Yuki asked. "I found something," Day said quietly. "A system that's not on any of our normal charts." Yuki looked at his screen. A red dot blinked in empty space. Next to it were words that made her blood turn cold. "Death World Prime, do not contact. Quarantine zone." "That's forbidden space," Yuki whispered. "The council says no one should ever go there." "But someone lives there," Day said. "The computers show energy readings, cities, ships, a whole civilization." The building shook again. This time pieces of the ceiling fell down. They could hear the bug creatures getting closer. Their clicking sounds filled the air like evil music. "Send the signal," Yuki said. "But the rules." "The rules won't matter if we're all dead," Yuki snapped. "Send it now." Day's hands shook as he typed in the coordinates. The forbidden system appeared on his screen like a door to hell. But hell might be better than staying here with the bugs. He sent the message with all the power the colony had left. The signal shot through space faster than light, carrying their desperate words to the unknown world. "Message sent," Day said. "Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. The colony's long-range sensors started beeping like crazy. Something was happening in the forbidden system. Energy readings jumped off the charts. Whatever lived there was waking up. "Ma'am," called out Jin from the sensor station. "You need to see this." Yuki ran over to Jin's screen. What she saw there made no sense. Hundreds of ships were moving in the forbidden system. Big ships, warships. They were coming toward the PAW colony system at impossible speed. "How fast are they moving?" Yuki asked. Jin checked his readings twice. "Faster than anything I've ever seen. They'll be here in 6 hours. 6 hours, the colony would be dead in 2. The bug creatures had reached the main levels now. People screamed in the hallways. Security teams fought back with everything they had, but their weapons barely scratched the creatures' thick shells. All remaining security teams to level 5, Yuki announced. Protect the evacuation ships at all costs. She turned back to Day. Keep broadcasting to those unknown ships, tell them we're running out of time. Day sent message after message. He told the unknown civilization about the 8,000 people trapped in the colony. He told them about the bug creatures and how they killed everything in their path. He begged them to hurry. The reply that came back was short and simple. Message received. Help is coming. Protect yourselves until we arrive. The voice that spoke these words was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was calm and confident, but underneath it was something that made Yuki's skin crawl. It was the voice of something that had seen war and death and was not afraid of either. Who do you think they are? Day asked. Yuki watched the red dot on the screen that marked the forbidden world. I don't know. But there are only hope. Outside, the bug creatures were winning. The colony's defenses were almost gone. People were trapped in the lower levels with nowhere to run. The evacuation ships were full, but they couldn't take off while the bugs controlled the landing pads. The colony had maybe 1 hour left. After that, it would just be another dead world in the bug creatures' growing empire. But somewhere in the darkness of space, unknown ships were racing toward them, ships from a world so dangerous that the entire galaxy had agreed to leave it alone. Ships carrying creatures that might be worse than the bugs themselves. Yuki didn't care anymore. Death was coming either way. At least this death might fight back. She stood at the window and watched the bug ships land outside. Soon she would know what lived in the forbidden system. Soon she would learn why an entire galaxy was afraid of a single world. The signal had been sent. The die was cast. Now, all they could do was survive long enough to see what answered their call. The space around the dying colony suddenly filled with light. Not the cold light of stars, but the warm glow of ship engines. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Yuki stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. This can't be right. It is. Jin said, his voice barely a whisper. They're here, all of them. The unknown ships appeared like ghosts becoming real. They were bigger than anything in the Federation fleet. Their hulls were dark gray, almost black, and covered in strange markings. They moved with perfect coordination, like a school of fish or a flock of birds. Day's communication system came alive. A voice spoke in clear galactic standard, but with an accent no one had ever heard before. This is Admiral June of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. Prepare for immediate assistance. Terran? Yuki repeated. I've never heard of that species. We are humans from Earth, the voice continued. We're here to help. The word Earth sent a chill through everyone in the control room. Every child in the galaxy grew up hearing scary stories about Earth. It was the world where evolution went wrong, where creatures learned to kill everything, including each other, just to survive another day. But those were just stories, weren't they? The human ships spread out around the colony like a protective shell. Each ship was a work of art and terror. They had weapons that looked like they could crack planets. Their engines glowed with power that made the air itself tremble. Unknown ships, came a new voice over the radio. This one was cold and clicking. It was a Vraktar commander. You are interfering with our harvest. Leave now or be destroyed. The response from the human admiral was calm and polite. No. That was all. Just one word. But the way he said it made everyone understand that the humans weren't going anywhere. The Vraktar commander spoke again, anger making his voice even more ugly than usual. You face the full might of the 7th hive. We have conquered 30 worlds. We will add your ships to our collection. You're welcome to try, Admiral June replied. What happened next would be talked about in bars and military academies for centuries to come. The human ships didn't charge forward like most species would. They didn't fire all their weapons at once like young warriors showing off. Instead, they moved like hunters who had done this many times before. The lead human ship, bigger than a city, glided toward the main Vraktar vessel. Its name was painted on the side in simple letters, Indomitable. Captain Hana stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the bug ships with the same expression someone might use while looking at annoying insects, which she thought was exactly what they were. Weapons are charged and ready, her tactical officer reported. Lock onto their command ship, Hana ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The Indomitable's main gun fired once, just once. The beam of energy that shot out was blue-white and beautiful and absolutely deadly. It punched through the Vraktar command ship like a needle through paper. The massive bug vessel exploded in a ball of fire that lit up half the system. This is Admiral June to all Vraktar vessels. The human commander's voice came over every radio frequency. You have one chance to leave this system peacefully. Take it. The Vraktar's reply was to attack with everything they had. Hundreds of bug ships opened fire at the same time. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two fleets. The colonists watched in amazement as the human ships danced through the weapons fire. They moved like living things, twisting and turning in ways that should have been impossible for such large vessels. Not a single human ship was hit. But every shot they fired found its target. The battle wasn't really a battle at all. It was an extermination. The human ships worked together like they shared one mind. When one ship was reloading, another would cover it. When the bugs tried to surround one vessel, 3 others would appear from nowhere to help. Down on the colony, the bug creatures that had been winning just minutes before suddenly found themselves in trouble. Human soldiers were dropping from the sky in metal pods that crashed through the colony's roof like meteors. Ground Commander Tay was the first one out of his pod. He looked around at the colony's toxic atmosphere and heavy gravity and shrugged. His suit's computer told him the air would kill most species in minutes. To him, it just smelled a little strange. The bug creatures rushed toward the human soldiers, expecting them to run or hide like everyone else did. Instead, the humans formed a line and waited. When the bugs got close enough, the humans opened fire. Their weapons were unlike anything the colonists had ever seen. They didn't just hurt the bugs, they turned them into dust. Each shot was perfectly placed. No ammunition was wasted. No target was missed. But it wasn't just their weapons that made the humans terrifying. It was the way they fought. They showed no fear. When a bug creature twice their size charged at them, they stepped aside and shot it in the head. When 10 bugs attacked at once, the humans split up and took them apart one by one. Sergeant Bin led his squad through the colony's lower levels, where the worst of the bug infestation was. The other soldiers followed him without question, even though they were walking into a death trap. Contacts ahead, Bin said into his radio. Looks like 100 of them. Orders, sir? Asked one of his men. Bin checked his weapon and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Kill them all. The humans moved through the colony like a storm. They rescued trapped colonists and carried them to safety. They fixed broken equipment with tools from their belts. They gave medical aid to the wounded and comfort to the scared. But when they found bug creatures, they became something else entirely. The colonists had heard rumors about humans for generations. Stories said they came from a world so dangerous that it turned them into perfect killers. Stories said they fought wars that lasted for centuries. Stories said they never, ever gave up. Watching them fight, the colonists realized the stories weren't scary enough. A human soldier could carry a wounded alien to safety with one hand while shooting bugs with the other. A human medic could perform surgery in the middle of a battle and never miss a stitch. A human engineer could fix a life support system while explosions shook the building around him. They were impossibly good at everything. Up in space, the battle was almost over. The Vraktar fleet was gone. Not defeated, gone. The humans had destroyed every single bug ship without taking a single loss themselves. This is Admiral June to the colony, came the calm voice over the radio. The immediate threat has been eliminated. Ground forces are securing your facility. Medical teams are standing by. Yuki stared out the window at the human ships that filled the sky. They were beautiful and terrible and absolutely unstoppable. Who are you people? She whispered. The answer came back immediately, as if the Admiral had heard her. We're the people who answer when someone calls for help. That's all you need to know. The real battle began when the Vraktar Queen arrived. She came in a ship the size of a small moon, black as space itself and covered in weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Behind her came the elite guard, the biggest, meanest, most dangerous bug creatures in the hive. The Queen had conquered 47 worlds. She had never lost a battle. She had never even been challenged. That was about to change. Humans, the Queen's voice hissed over the radio. Her words dripped with hatred and disgust. I have heard stories about your pathetic little world. You think you are warriors? You are nothing but soft meat that learned to use tools. Admiral, June's reply was as calm as ever. Your Majesty is welcome to test that theory. The Queen's ship fired first. Its main weapon was a beam of pure destruction that could cut through planets. It hit the indomitable dead center. The human ship's shields flared bright blue and held. Captain Hana smiled on her bridge. Our turn. The Indomitable's weapons fired back. But this wasn't like the quick shots they had used on the smaller bug ships. This was everything the massive human vessel could dish out. The Queen's ship shook under the assault. For the first time in her long life, the Vraktar Queen felt something she had never experienced before. Doubt. Down on the colony, the elite bug warriors poured out of their landing ships. These weren't the regular soldiers the humans had been fighting. These were twice as big, 3 times as fast, and had armor that could stop most weapons. They rushed toward the human positions, confident that their superior size and strength would carry the day. Sergeant Bin watched them come and shook his head. They never learn. The elite bugs hit the human defensive line like a wave hitting a rock, and like a wave, they broke apart. The humans didn't try to match the bug's strength. Instead, they used their intelligence. When a big bug swung its claws, a human soldier would duck and shoot it in the knee. When 2 bugs tried to attack together, the humans would split them up and take them on one at a time. But the most amazing thing was how they worked as a team. When Sergeant Bin ran out of ammunition, Private One threw him a fresh clip without being asked. When Corporal Nara got surrounded by 3 bugs, the rest of the squad appeared from 3 different directions to help her. They moved like they had been fighting together for years, like they could read each other's minds, like they were parts of a single deadly machine. The bug creatures had never faced anything like it. In space, more human ships were arriving every minute. They came from all directions, as if the entire galaxy was full of them. Each ship was different, but they all had the same dark gray color and the same deadly grace. Pilot Nara launched from her carrier in a small fighter ship. Around her, 100 other pilots did the same. They flew toward the Queen's massive vessel like tiny birds attacking a giant. The Queen's ship had defensive weapons everywhere, laser turrets and missile launchers and energy shields that could stop anything, but the human pilots flew through them like they weren't there. Nara twisted her ship between laser beams that missed her by inches. She rolled under missiles that exploded harmlessly behind her. She danced through the enemy fire like she was putting on a show. Her fighter was small and fast, but it carried weapons that hit far above its weight. When she fired her missiles, at the Queen's ship they punched holes through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. "This is Red Leader," Nara reported over the radio. "We're inside their defensive grid, beginning attack run." The human fighters swarmed over the Queen's ship like angry wasps. They were too small and too fast for the big weapons to hit, but their own weapons were cutting the massive vessel apart piece by piece. The Queen roared with rage and frustration. She had started this fight with the biggest, most powerful ship in the sector. Now it was being torn apart by fighters that were smaller than her throne room. "Impossible," she hissed. "You are just primitives from a backward world. How can you fight like this?" The answer came from Admiral June, and for the first time, his voice had an edge to it. "We learned to fight on a world that tried to kill us. Every single day we learned to work together because that was the only way to survive. We learned to never give up because giving up meant death." He paused, and when he spoke again, his words were like ice. "You picked the wrong species to mess with, Your Majesty." The human ground forces were advancing through the colony now. The bug creatures tried to make a stand in the main plaza, where they had set up defensive positions behind stolen equipment. Ground Commander Tay looked at their positions through his binoculars and nodded with approval. Not bad. They know what they're doing. How do we take them out? Asked Lieutenant Minho. Tai smiled. We don't take them out. We go around them. The humans move through the colony like water flowing around rocks. When the bugs expected them to attack from the front, they came from behind. When the bugs tried to block the main corridors, the humans went through the ventilation system. Engineer 1 crawled through air ducts that were barely wide enough for his shoulders. Behind him came 5 other soldiers, moving in perfect silence. They emerged in the middle of the bug defensive position and opened fire before the enemy knew they were there. The bugs tried to adapt, but the humans were always one step ahead. They had spent their entire history fighting wars against other humans, the smartest, most adaptable opponents in the galaxy. Fighting bugs was almost easy by comparison. The colonists watched in amazement as the human soldiers rescued people from areas that everyone had thought were lost. They carried children to safety through corridors full of toxic gas. They performed surgery on wounded colonists using equipment that had been damaged by the fighting. But what impressed the colonists most was how gentle the humans were with them. The same soldiers who killed bug creatures without mercy would carefully bandage a child's scraped knee or help an elderly alien walk to safety. Why are you helping us? Yuki asked Commander Tay as he organized the evacuation of the lower levels. Tay looked at her like the question didn't make sense. Because you asked for help. But we're not your people, we're not even your species. Tay shrugged. Doesn't matter. You needed help. We came. In space, the Queen's ship was losing the battle. Half of its weapons were destroyed, its shields were failing. Its hull was covered in holes from human missiles, but the Queen wasn't finished yet. If I cannot win, she hissed into her communicator, then everyone dies. Her ship's engines suddenly flared to life. She was going to ram the Indomitable, sacrificing herself and her crew to take out the human flagship. The massive vessel accelerated toward the human ship like a falling star. Its remaining weapons fired continuously, trying to clear a path through the smaller human vessels that tried to block its way. Captain Hana watched the approaching ship on her tactical display and made a decision that would be remembered for 1,000 years. All hands prepare for ramming speed, she announced over the ship's speakers. The Indomitable turned to face the Queen's ship head-on. Its engines roared to life as it accelerated toward the approaching enemy. 2 massive ships, each the size of a city, raced toward each other through the darkness of space. One carried a queen who had conquered dozens of worlds. The other carried humans who had never learned how to surrender. They were going to find out which was stronger. The 2 massive ships raced toward each other like meteors on a collision course. Everyone in the system watched in horror as certain death approached. Then Captain Hana did something that no one expected. At the last possible second, the Indomitable rolled to the side and fired every weapon it had directly into the Queen's ship's engines. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. The Queen's vessel spun out of control, its engines gone, its hull cracked open like a broken egg. But it was still alive, and it was falling toward the colony below. All ships, emergency maneuvers, Admiral June commanded. Do not let that ship hit the colony. What followed was the most incredible display of teamwork anyone had ever seen. Dozens of human ships positioned themselves around the falling vessel and fired their engines at full power. They weren't trying to destroy it anymore. They were trying to push it away from the planet. The ship's hulls groaned under the strain. Their engines glowed white-hot from the effort. But slowly, impossibly, they began to change the massive ship's course. Hull stress at critical levels, reported the Indomitable's chief engineer. Keep pushing, Captain Hana ordered. Those people down there are counting on us. The Queen's ship missed the planet by less than 1,000 kilometers. It crashed into the system's 3rd moon instead, turning the small satellite into a ball of fire and debris. The Queen was dead. Her elite guard was dead. Her entire invasion fleet was destroyed. But the humans weren't celebrating yet. Down on the colony, thousands of people were still trapped in damaged sections. The fighting had left many areas without power, air, or heat. People were hurt and scared and needed help. The humans got to work immediately. Engineer 1 led a team through the colony's power systems, fixing damaged cables and replacing broken generators. He worked for 18 hours straight without taking a break, powered by nothing but determination and military coffee. "Sir, you need to rest," one of his assistants said. One looked at him like he was crazy. "People are cold and scared in the dark. We fix that first, then we rest." Medical teams spread throughout the colony, treating injuries with equipment that seemed almost magical. Dr. Sue could heal broken bones in minutes and cure diseases that other species considered fatal. But it wasn't just their technology that impressed the colonists. It was their attitude. Every human acted like the rescue of complete strangers was the most important thing in the universe. They gave up their own food to feed hungry children. They shared their blankets with elderly aliens who were cold. They sat with scared families and told them jokes to help them forget their fear. "Why do you care so much?" A young colonist named Day asked Sergeant Bin as the soldier bandaged his injured arm. Bin paused in his work and looked at the child. "On my world, we have a saying. The pack survives together or it dies together. You're part of our pack now." "But I'm not human." Bin smiled. "Doesn't matter. Pack is pack." This was the secret that the galaxy had never understood about humans. They weren't just individual warriors. They were a species that had learned to survive by taking care of each other. On Earth, the weak didn't get left behind. The injured didn't get abandoned. The scared didn't get ignored. Everyone looked out for everyone else, because that was the only way to survive on a world that was constantly trying to kill them. Now they extended that protection to anyone who needed it. Commander Tay organized search and rescue teams that went into the most dangerous parts of the colony. These areas were filled with toxic gas, unstable radiation, and collapsed tunnels that could cave in at any moment. To most species, these conditions would be instantly fatal. To humans, they were just Tuesday. "Biosigns detected in Section 7, reported Lieutenant Minho over the radio. 3 adults and 2 children trapped behind a collapsed wall." "On our way," Tay replied. His team moved through the dangerous area like they were taking a casual walk. Their suits protected them from the radiation, but not from the collapsing ceiling or the holes in the floor that led to bottomless pits. They found the trapped family in a small room that was slowly filling with poisonous gas. The children were unconscious. The adults were barely breathing. "How do we get them out?" Minho asked. "The tunnel is too narrow for stretchers." Tay looked at the situation and made a decision. "We carry them." One by one, the human soldiers crawled through the narrow, dangerous tunnel carrying unconscious aliens on their backs. It took 6 trips to get everyone out safely. When they emerged into clean air, the rescued family was alive and safe. The human soldiers were exhausted, battered, and covered in cuts from the sharp tunnel walls. "Thank you," the family's father whispered. Tay helped him to his feet. "Just doing our job." But it wasn't just a job to the humans. It was who they were. Up in space, Admiral June coordinated the arrival of more human ships. These weren't warships. They were hospital ships, supply vessels and construction platforms. "Medical ship Mercy requesting permission to dock," came a voice over the radio. "Granted," Yuki replied from the colony's control room. She had been working with the humans for hours now, and she was starting to understand them better. The Mercy was bigger than most battle cruisers, but it was painted white instead of gray. It docked with the colony's main port and immediately began unloading medical supplies, food, and equipment. Dr. Saul led the medical team from the ship. She was small and quiet, but she moved through the colony's injured like a force of nature. She could diagnose problems that other doctors couldn't even pronounce and fix them with tools that looked like magic. "How is this possible?" asked the colony's chief medical officer as he watched Sewell repair a patient's damaged organs with a device that looked like a glowing pen. "We've had a lot of practice," Sewell replied. "When you live on a world where everything is trying to kill you, you get good at fixing things that are broken." The construction teams were just as impressive. They repaired damaged sections of the colony that other engineers had written off as total losses. They reinforced weak structures and improved systems that had been barely functional even before the attack. Lead engineer Ryu looked at the colony's power grid and shook his head. "This whole system is held together with luck and prayer." Can you fix it? Yuki asked. Fix it? Ryu grinned. Lady, when we're done with it, this place will be safer than a Federation military base. The humans worked around the clock. They didn't seem to need sleep or food or rest. They just kept going until the job was done. But the most remarkable thing was how they treated the colonists. They didn't act like conquering heroes or superior beings. They acted like neighbors who had come to help after a disaster. They learned people's names. They asked about their families. They shared stories and pictures from their homeworld. They made everyone feel like they mattered. I don't understand, Yuki confessed to Admiral June as they stood in the colony's main plaza, watching human and alien children play together. Your people are the most powerful warriors I've ever seen, but you're also the most kind. June watched a human soldier teaching alien children how to play a game from Earth. Those two things aren't opposites, he said. We fight so hard because we care so much. We learned a long time ago that the strong protect the weak. That's not just a duty. It's who we are. The colony was safe now. The immediate danger was over. But the humans weren't leaving. When will your fleet depart? Yuki asked. June looked surprised by the question. We're not going anywhere. Not until we're sure you're safe. But surely you have other duties. Our duty is to protect innocent life, June interrupted gently. Until we know you can protect yourselves, that duty isn't finished. As night fell, over the colony, the human ships formed a protective ring around the planet. Their lights twinkled in the darkness like guardian stars. Down below, human and alien families shared meals together. They told stories and sang songs from a dozen different worlds. Children who had been enemies just hours before were now playing games and learning each other's languages. The humans had done more than just win a battle. They had made the colonists part of their family, and families, as every human knew, were worth fighting for. 3 months after the battle, the colony looked completely different. The damaged sections had been rebuilt stronger than before. The old, barely functional systems had been replaced with technology that seemed to come from 100 years in. The future. Gardens grew in areas that had been nothing but metal corridors before. But the biggest change wasn't in the buildings. It was in the people. The colonists moved with confidence now. They knew how to defend themselves, how to work together, how to solve problems that seemed impossible. The humans had taught them more than just survival skills. They had taught them to believe in themselves. Yuki stood in the colony's new command center, watching the displays that showed peaceful space around them. A year ago, this system had been at the edge of nowhere. Now it was one of the most secure places in the galaxy. Morning report, said Day, who had been promoted to Chief Communications Officer. All systems green. No threats detected. The new sensor network is working perfectly. The sensor network was a gift from the humans. It could detect hostile ships from 3 star systems away and automatically send a warning to the human fleet. Any enemy who tried to attack the colony would find themselves facing the full might of Earth's military within hours. Any word from the outer colonies? Yuki asked. Day smiled. 17 more distress calls came in overnight, all requesting help from the humans from the Death World. Word had spread throughout the galaxy with incredible speed. The story of the colony's rescue had been told and retold until it became legend. Now every threatened world in the galaxy was sending desperate signals toward the forbidden system, begging for help from the mysterious warriors who answered SOS calls, and the humans answered every single one. Ambassador Ryu arrived on the morning transport from Earth. He was a quiet man with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but everyone in the colony knew he spoke for the most powerful military force in the galaxy. The Galactic Federation Council has requested a meeting, he told Yuki as they walked through the colony's new shopping district. They want to discuss Earth's activities. Yuki almost laughed. The Federation had ignored the colony's calls for help, leaving 8,000 people to die. Now that Earth had saved them, the politicians wanted to have a discussion about it. What will you tell them? She asked. Ryu paused to buy some fruit from a vendor who had opened a small stand in the plaza. The vendor was an alien refugee whose world had been destroyed by raiders. The humans had rescued her family and helped them start a new life here. "I'll tell them the truth," Ryu said, handing the vendor a coin. "Earth protects anyone who asks for protection. That policy is not open to negotiation." The Federation meeting took place on the neutral station at Beta Centauri. Representatives from 50 worlds gathered in the Great Assembly Hall to discuss what they called the human problem. Many of them were afraid. Humans had appeared out of nowhere with technology and military might that dwarfed anything in the galaxy. They could have conquered 100 worlds by now if they had wanted to. Instead, they spent their time rescuing colonies and fighting pirates. "This cannot continue," declared Ambassador Vex from the Altarian Republic. "No single species can be allowed to act as the galaxy's police force. Even if that species only uses its power to save lives," Ryu asked quietly. "Especially then," Vex replied. "Today you save colonies. Tomorrow you might decide to conquer them." The debate went on for hours. Some representatives wanted to declare war on Earth. Others wanted to make alliance treaties. A few wanted to pretend the humans didn't exist and hope they would go away. Finally, Ryu stood up to speak. "Honored representatives," he began, "I understand your concerns. A new power has appeared in the galaxy, and you don't know what we want." He activated a holographic display that showed images from across the galaxy. Rescued colonies, defeated pirate fleets, refugees finding new homes on worlds protected by human ships. "This is what we want," Ryu continued. "We want children to sleep safely at night. We want families to live without fear. We want anyone who calls for help to know that help will come." "But why?" demanded Ambassador Vex. "What do you gain from this?" Ryu thought about his answer carefully. How could he explain to aliens what it meant to be human? How could he describe a species that had learned to survive by never abandoning their own? "On our world," he said finally, "we learned that we are stronger together than apart. We learned that protecting the weak makes everyone stronger. We learned that a civilization is judged not by its weapons or its wealth, but by how it treats those who cannot protect themselves." He looked around the assembly hall at the representatives of dozens of worlds. "You call Earth a death world because it's dangerous. You're right, it is. But that danger made us who we are. It taught us to value life above everything else because we know how easily it can be lost." The hall was completely silent now. "We're not asking for your permission to protect innocent people," Ryu continued. "We're not asking for your approval or your thanks. We're simply telling you that anyone who calls for help will receive it." "And if we try to stop you?" Vex asked. Ryu's voice remained calm and gentle, but his words sent a chill through the assembly. "Then you would be preventing us from saving innocent lives, and that would make you our enemy." The meeting ended without any formal resolution. Some worlds declared they would resist human expansion. Others quietly began negotiating protection agreements. Most decided to wait and see what happened next. What happened next was predictable. Within a year, the human fleet had responded to over 300 distress calls. They had defeated 7 major pirate organizations, stopped 2 wars, and rescued countless colonies from disasters both natural and artificial. They asked for nothing in return, except the right to establish small bases where they could respond to emergencies more quickly. The colonies that accepted human protection prospered. Trade increased, population grew, technology advanced. Crime disappeared. The worlds that refused human help learned to regret that decision when they found themselves facing enemies they couldn't handle alone. Back on the mining colony, life had settled into a peaceful routine. The children who had lived through the bug attack were now young adults. Some of them had joined the human military. Others had become engineers or doctors or teachers. All of them carried the memory of the day when strangers from a forbidden world had risked everything to save them. Yuki, now an old woman, stood in the colony's memorial garden. The names of everyone who had died in the attack were carved into a stone monument. Beside it was another monument with the names of the humans who had come to their rescue. Many of those humans were still here 3 decades later. They had married colonists, started families, and made the colony their home. Their children played in the same gardens where they had once fought giant bug creatures. "Grandmother Yuki," called a young voice. She turned to see her great-granddaughter running toward her. The little girl was half human, half alien, with her grandmother's eyes and her human father's stubborn determination. "Tell me the story again," the child demanded, "about the day the humans came." Yuki smiled and picked up the little girl. "Which part do you want to hear?" "All of it." From the beginning. So Yuki told the story again the way she had told it hundreds of times before. About the desperate signal sent to a forbidden world. About the ships that came not with conquest in mind, but with protection. About the warriors who fought not for glory or gain, but because someone had asked for help. "And they're still here?" the little girl asked. "They're still here," Yuki confirmed, "and they always will be, because that's what humans do. They protect their family." "Are we their family?" Yuki looked out at the human ships that still guarded the system, their lights twinkling like protective stars in the darkness. "Yes, little one. We're all their family now." Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, similar conversations were taking place. Children who had never seen Earth knew its name. Adults who had never met a human trusted them with their lives. The death world had become something else entirely. It had become hope, and in the depths of space, human ships continued their eternal patrol, watching over a galaxy that had finally learned the difference between strength and cruelty, between power and protection. The signal had been answered. The promise had been kept. The humans were here to stay.